How you guys doing? So, so when you guys first heard my name, it sounded like pretty Middle Eastern, right? Okay. So to add to that randomness, I'm Orthodox Jewish. Okay? Okay? So people know, like, what's big on the Jewish calendar that's coming up soon? Passover. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a little bit about the idea of Passover from a Jewish perspective. I mean, there's many perspectives from my Jewish perspective. And I'm going to coalesce that to us transforming Los Angeles into a zone of happy Republicans. Okay, so one of the big ideas when people study and learn about the Torah is that there's a literal level of looking at it, then there's a deeper level of looking at it. And so the holiday of Passover is about the Jewish people being in Egypt, and they just came to Egypt because they were looking for more opportunities, crops, food, safety. And so they were living in Egypt, and it became a very difficult place to live at because there was so much judgment from the Egyptians. And they fell into a place of disparity and a lack of hope. And eventually God sends this Redeemer named Moses to come and enlighten them to leave Egypt, and eventually the idea is to go into the land of Israel. Right? Okay. So the idea is that on the deeper level, the concept of Egypt represents a state of mind, and the concept of Israel represents a state of mind. And so the concept of Egypt represents this idea that my well-being has to do with something over me. You could almost say like government in a way. You could say the idea that I need something in my life to sustain who I am, and I don't have the ability by myself to do it, was the idea of being under the Egyptian pharaoh. To the point, many of the Jewish scholars say that the slavery that the Jewish people were in Egypt was a mental slavery. It was a mental slavery. It wasn't just a physical slavery. It was a mental slavery. And the mental slavery was that ability that I cannot do on my own. And that's really what the idea of what Moses brought to the table. He came, and the first thing he did after he had this amazing experience with God, where God told him that he was going to be a leader, that he confronts the Pharaoh. But the genius of Moses confronting the Pharaoh is that it was the first time since they've been in Egypt that one man stood in front of another man as a total equal from different nations. So the land of Israel that they were getting to was another state of mind, which is a state of mind that I can do, that I'm the decider of my reality, that I can create whatever I want in my life, and I can manifest it. It's kind of like the idea of the Constitution. So I'm going to just put that story on the side, and we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of how we win LA. So are there any sociologists, economists in the crowd? No? Okay. Or one. Okay. So I just want you to make sure I'm on the right page. So I could consider the 18th century the agriculture age, right? Roughly? Okay. So we could say, the agriculture age was in the 18th century, and it was all about crops and us being able to export it internationally, and there was labor there and whatnot. Then you say we went into the 19th century, which was the Industrial Revolution, and it was the idea of the transformation from the farms into factories, and being able to take the different products that were created in farmland or in other using other forms of natural materials, and being able to produce them at high volumes in factories. And you can say the 20th century was about the idea of corporations in say, computers and information. We call it the information age, right? So 18th century agriculture, 19th century industrial revolution, 20th century information age. So now we're in an age that the economists are calling the 21st century, which was considered the idea-based economy, or the conceptual age. So what's happening during this time? We're saying that The information age was about people leaving factories and going into corporate buildings and wearing suits and using computers. What is this era that we're in now? What is it about? The era that we're in now is about the idea that robot or whatever type of technology you want to use is changing the way that we do business, to the point that they're saying in the next 10 years, close to 50% of the jobs that we have in the US workforce are going to be replaced by robot technology. That's one idea. Second idea is that we have all these tremendous trade partnerships, around the world that's outsourcing American labor, making it cheap, on pennies on the dollar. We can get the same work from kids that are educated in universities, learning the same things that kids are learning in our universities here for pennies on the dollar. And so when people say, oh, we're going to bring jobs back to America, I mean, it sounds great. It sounds great. But the reality is that even the jobs that they bring back are going to be outdated through technology. So we're in an era where human labor is the cheapest it's ever been. So why is it called the idea-based economy? Because the new industries are based around concepts. They're based around concepts and ideas that can be manufactured online with no physicality, with no factory, with no corporate office. Some of the biggest innovations that are affecting all of our lives right now are softwares that people coded inside of their houses. So that's the era that we're in. They're calling that the idea-based economy. Now the opportunity, and this is where I believe being a Republican, everyone sitting here is sitting in a historical place, because the future of America has to have conservative values, and I'm going to explain why. We're in the era of the idea-based economy. That means that the individual has the same impact as corporations, even to a degree, even nation states. We have the ability to affect policy, we have the ability to affect invention. And from that space, that we're now all creators in the same way at the bigger, like most of the people here are either property owners, business owners, some form of independence you guys have within you. And that's why having conservative values matter. And when we look at my district, which is a 37th district, which is 25% African American, 38% Hispanic, the other percentage is 25%, like mostly kind of Jewish, liberal, somewhat conservative. It's a mixture, and 7% Korean. The people in my district are people who work for companies that they participate in unions, they participate in other types of groups. They're not entrepreneurs. And the people who are entrepreneurs, the people who make above $80,000 a year, are conservative because they're concerned about taxes. They're concerned about corporate taxes and income taxes and trade. And a lot of people, have come over to the United States and are concerned about foreign policy. So when I go into my district, what's my point of conversation as a Republican? What is my point of conversation? How do I engage people in my community that, work in Hollywood, that work for, they're teachers, they're people who work for the Metro, they're people, they're people who believe in the system providing for them. And I'm not putting it down, I'm just saying the way of life. My father's an entrepreneur. So he's focused on things that illuminate his ability to be an entrepreneur, to be a self-sufficient individual. So in our district and across the country, there's millions upon people that are creating these businesses through social media. And these businesses are taking aspects of their social culture, whether it's their life story, things that they're interested in, and they're leveraging them. Whether they're using eBay, whether they're using Facebook, whether they're using other bartering and trading apps, but they're leveraging that. But what that means is that these individuals now are businesses. They're businesses now. The average individual walking around South Central LA that has a Facebook page, or they have a website, or they're promoting music, or they're promoting some type of commodity that comes out of their social culture, they're now a business. So where's the conversation at? The conversation is that you need legislation to be able to remove taxes
and to be able to provide an opportunity or an environment where you can achieve investment capital. So how does that connect to the story of the Jewish people leaving Israel? Is because the idea of Moses and that whole dynamic with God was the idea of creating a new mind, a new way of perceiving reality, a new way of seeing life, a new potential. So I'm in a district. I'm not in a district to convincing people just to be Republican and to support Ted Cruz and Donald Trump. Both people, whoever wins, I support. But I'm in my district showing